The midterms are getting closer, and Trump's political problems are piling up. But watch what happens when Isaiah Martin asks Lydia Moynihan one simple question. Instead of answering directly, she keeps trying to dodge it, and Isaiah refuses to let it go. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's get into it.
Let's get right to what America's talking about. President Trump appears to be spiraling. His White House Correspondents' Dinner speech was widely panned. His war in Iran is as unpopular as ever, and Americans are fed up with the skyrocketing costs. So, how did Trump cope? By going on a social media tirade. He posted to nonstop all weekend, and it was mostly AI-generated slop on everything from Iran to his frustrations with Republicans to his Save America Act. He began his outburst early on Saturday and didn't quit until late on Sunday. By our count, there were about 60 posts in all, with more than 50 of them dropping in a 24-hour period. Trump's tirade comes on the heels of a new CBS poll, which finds that about 2/3 of Americans disapprove of how the president is handling the situation in Iran. About 2/3 also say that they don't like his handling of the economy. Now, everything came to a head today when Trump appeared to lose his cool and snapped at a reporter.
On the SAVE Act, why do you want the U.S. Senate to stay in town? Shouldn't they be out across the country?
Why? What a stupid question for you to ask.
Be campaigning them.
What a stupid question. So listen, why do I want? The SAVE Act has to be done. They shouldn't leave town. I'm not going to stop them from doing it, but they should get the SAVE Act done.
Now, before we open it up to the table here, I want to invite you at home to join the debate. You can go to cnn.com/Abby, and we'll get to some of your comments throughout the show tonight. Isaiah, the president losing it on social media is not exactly a new thing, but it also, I think, as the challenges that he's facing become more and more serious, it is an issue that the president can't seem to keep his head on straight when we're facing a war, an economy that's unstable, and his party is facing an election in November.
I think ultimately the reason why his numbers are so bad is because he's not focused on anything that anybody cares about. One of the most interesting parts of that poll shows that he's down 8 points specifically with Republican voters when it comes to his handling on the economy. I mean, they look around, they see the promises that he made. He said that we'd have $1 and something gas. That never happened. He said that we would have half off our energy bills within the first year of him being in office. That never happened. All these things that he promised has not happened. And so I think people across the country are looking to say, look, this president is not delivering. He hasn't fulfilled his promises, and they want to see something different. I see that's the reality.
Yeah, I mean, on Republicans, as you point out, only 34% in this Washington Post poll say that their financial situation is better now compared to January 2025 when Trump took office. 18% say they are not as well off. 48% say that they're about the same. Meanwhile, the president is using social media. I'm not sure if this is like a teenager or like he is an 80-year-old man. So maybe this is what, elderly people are doing on the internet. But it's all these memes of him dealing with the Iran war, guardian of the world, all kinds of things. I mean, Lydia, what is he up? What is he doing?
He is prolific. You can give him that. Look, obviously, it's going to be up to the voters to decide in the midterms. I think that there's things he can point to, Trump accounts, Trump RX, but I think it's going to come down to gas prices as well, which have been coming down, and now we're going up a bit more than I think he would like to see. I think the interesting thing, though, is the incumbent is typically challenged as he heads into the midterms. But in this case, consider the alternative. And the Washington Post has been reporting what Trump voters are feeling, and they feel frustrated. But in the words of one gentleman, he said he's not going to vote for crazy-ass Democrats. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. People may have frustrations that they don't feel as affordability is as much of a focus, and yet consider the alternative. And some of the loudest voices in the Democratic Party now are pushing for the abolition of private property.
Can I just add to what Lydia? Can I just say something about what Lydia said, though, on the challenges? Because you said that this president's entering this midterm cycle with challenges, but a lot of these challenges are self-inflicted. I think when it comes, like he came in, he can take credit for, I think, bolstering the economy in maybe the first part of his opening year. But you look at inflation today. I mean, he was in Michigan, and before the war in Iran, gas was $2.90, and now today it is $4.22. And that is because of this war of choice. And then so you look at that, you look at the price of groceries, you look at the spread of measles, you look at a diarrhea disease, and all around the country, people are wondering, what is this president actually going to deliver?
I mean, I don't know that he's responsible for cyclists, Sarah.
I think that people want a government that works for them. And when you can't trust what's coming from your government, whether it comes from measles or when it comes from not taking shots, like you tell me, like RFK is doing.
Shots is causing the diarrhea disease?
Well, I think that is happening under President Trump. It's not happening under anyone else.
Well, look,
okay.
I think that what's obvious.
You were really worried about disease. I mean, why were you worried about millions of people crossing the border who didn't have any?
I mean, well, it's not happening under Joe Biden.
Go ahead, Isaac.
But here's the thing. You made a statement about what's crazy. I think what's crazy is when you have the President of the United States acting like Abe Simpson, going and waving his fist at the cloud on social media and putting tariffs on countries like Canada that we have free trade with. Do you support the tariffs on Canada that have raised prices for people?
If we want to talk about his social media presence, it always has been.
Do you support the tariffs?
It's going to be up to voters to decide what they want to do with midterms.
Tariffs on Canada.
Why does it matter what I support?
Why does it matter?
It's up to voters in the midterms. But I'd say with the AI thing, it really triggers a lot of people, which I think, frankly, he likes to see.
You don't want to.
I think you're right. I think people do like to see that engagement. I don't know that it's
some
right.
people like to see him tweeting out a bunch of unhinged
the
AI
base
memes. Is that
likes this.
I think you're right.
But the real question is, again, when prices are up, why is it that this president went and engaged in more tariffs on Canada when we already know that it has significant price pressures? Why did he do that, Lydia?
Because it's self-inflicted.
Look, voters are going to have to decide if they think
don't have
he's
an
doing
answer for
enough
that?
for
Why would he do
affordability. I'm not here to answer for
the answer
every
is
single
that there is
policy
no
that
reason.
he
That's what's
implements.
really crazy.
Okay.
I think that's what voters are going to react to.
It is also, I mean, it's a fair point that the reality of Trump's decision making in this moment is the root of the issue. He's lashing out at all sorts of people, reporters, he's tweeting out memes, but he refuses to stop doing the things like tariffs, like getting into a war that he promised Americans he wouldn't get into, that are causing some of the problems that he's dealing with right now.
I think that if the president was having this negative impact across the entire country, then Democrats would be doing a lot better as the opposition party.
We've won pretty much every special election there is.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
We won in
current
Kentucky,
generic
we won in
ballots,
Louisiana, Trump's own state house district has been won by a Democrat. That's pretty successful, I would say.
According to the last Reuters poll, Democrats
I'm not talking
consistently...
about polls, I'm talking about election
I'm
results.
talking about polls because we're getting closer to the midterms.
We're talking about election results.
We're talking about the
Democrats
generic
are winning
congressional
those.
ballot, as my point was. If the president is so detrimental to everything, I should see the Democrats skyrocketing in all of the
He's
polls.
losing
and I'm not
almost
seeing it.
every special election there
we
is.
talked about this last week. The recent poll showed that Democrats have overtaken Republicans in terms of who Americans trust to deal with the economy.
Strangely,
That's
the Reuters
something
poll that I've got right here doesn't say that.
Look, not every poll is the same.
Well, then
That's why we should be talking about election results.
But my point is, there are some polls showing that Trump is losing ground on key issues, especially on the economy, which is typically something that Republicans do well on. When you look at his approval rating on issues from the economy to Iran to trade to immigration, he's underwater on all of those issues.
So I should expect to see voters trusting Democrats over Republicans, and I'm not seeing that.
You are seeing that. You are seeing that in polls.
Again,
why
you're not
we won
seeing
in
these
Georgia,
things.
why we won in Texas, why we won in Kentucky, all across this country. Voters are choosing Democratic candidates in special elections. What are you talking about?
Again, what I'm seeing, according to all of the data that comes out of the pollsters, from Ipsos to Reuters, all the way over to the Morning Consult. Yes.
I care about
Well,
election
I mean, why should polls? I mean, if you're comparing,
I'm sorry. Would you like me to cite, look at the betting markets only? What's the
apples
issue
to
here?
oranges, right? These are apples to oranges. But do you think that the election results matter more, perhaps, than the polls?
I do. I do think that there are a lot of primaries and also the Supreme Court elections, for example, that seem to dispel a lot of narratives on money buying elections entirely. Tom Steyer not pulling out his California election, Elon Musk not being able to buy the Elon Musk Supreme Court situation.
Texas special elections. Louisiana, Chastity Martinez won a big special election. Kentucky, Trump's own state house district where Mar-a-Lago is, was won by a Democrat. All these Trump-won districts are being won by Democrats. That's showing that people are choosing common sense Democrats over what the Republicans are pushing. It is not common sense for more tariffs. It is not common sense to go forward and push the policies that Trump has been pushing.
Look, none of this is shocking that in a midterm election you would, as you always do, you sort of see a bit of the pendulum swinging the other way.
That sounds like cope. If you
That's
ask me.
not.
No, that
that's
would
not
be called
shocking. That's
consistent
pretty.
historical
So
data.
that's historic.
That is
So
historic.
what you're saying is
right.
kind of in line with what we have always seen before. But your notion about common sense Democrats is just frankly not the case. And I know we're going to talk about it later in the segment, but you literally have a party now that is overtaken by people that want to abolish private property and have socialism. You look at Abdul in Michigan, who won't condemn the Ayatollah. So these are the people in the Democratic Party right now.
But let me make one more point, because in addition, we're going to, don't worry,
we're going to
have
get
a
to
whole
it.
segment on this later in the show. One of the other things the president did this weekend was spend time attacking his own party, specifically John Thune in the Senate, for not passing the SAVE Act. And Trump continues to attack him over it. Thune actually responded to it today, basically saying he knows we don't have the votes. But here's what Trump said when he was asked about his attacks on Thune over the weekend.
It's fine. I have a good relationship with John Thune. He's just got to get his job done. You got to get the Save America Act passed. Or better than that would be the filibuster. If you terminate the filibuster, everything happens. If you don't terminate the filibuster, only bad things will happen.
But you don't want to see him replace this leader?
I haven't even thought of it.
So Trump is going down this road alone. Republicans in the Senate are not with him on the SAVE Act. Why does he keep doing this?
I see a lot of Republicans in the Senate who are currently siding with the president. There's been a lot of chaos, of course, has been reported across many of the media, the Republicans arguing on what the best path forward for the Senate is. As you see a lot of the Democrats on the left side of the aisle arguing about what the best path forward for that party is. If we're going to look at President Trump going this alone, calling for a policy that, again, according to the latest Pew Research data, is in fact a policy that the majority of Americans support, gee, I just don't see that as a
policy.
The Save America Act.
Do you think that they should get rid of the filibuster to pass the Save America Act?
I think right now that would be appropriate, yes.
Do you think that there are the votes to do that?
That's the thing.
That is the thing, correct. And I think there are a couple of Republicans that aren't in line with doing so.
Are there 60 votes?
No, that's why I said that I supported getting rid of the filibuster.
But they're not the votes.
But
so
are
why
there
is
even the
president
votes to get rid of the filibuster?
I agree there aren't the votes to get rid of the filibuster.
Okay,
Just because I want it doesn't
saying.
magically
So then,
procure the
to
votes.
quote John Thune, the president and his team could come up to Capitol Hill and try to get new votes, but they're
As
not
he did
doing
about
that.
a month and a half ago?
I think on this point, this is what goes back to what I originally said, was that these are so self-inflicted wounds that the president is launching against his own party. This is, to Lydia's point about historic trends, it is usually during the midterms that we see the pendulum swing to the party that is not in power in the White House. So this election will be a referendum on Donald Trump. Historically, the House. Hold on, let me finish.
It's just really interesting
The House usually will flip during a presidential, a president that's of the opposite power in the White House. However, I've never seen a president rally against his party the way this president does. If I could just finish, because this president, he does not have the votes for the SAVE Act. This war of choice with Iran is right. You admitted it. Is jacking up grocery prices, jacking up electricity costs, and Republicans are going to go home in August and have to face their constituents. And this president is not doing anything to allay concerns of their constituents.
Quick last word.
I actually think when it comes to the Save America Act, even if it doesn't pass, this is what the base wants to hear. They care about voter ID. They care about these issues.
It's a passport
Trump
to vote,
knows
though,
that this is an 80-20 issue. This is whether or not people like John Thune, whether people are not like John Thune, Trump is appealing to what the vast majority of Americans care about. And okay, can I talk for 2 seconds without you interrupting me?
Side of the table, my man.
Can I talk for 2 seconds?
I mean, I also look.
The base likes the Save America Act, and I think this is energizing them.
Be specific. That it's not a voter ID bill.
That's right.
It includes a lot of things,
it is
including the voter ID.
Citizenship bill.
Oh, the horror.
For which most forms of ID would not count.
Only 5.
You know, many people don't have a
that's
passport,
important
right?
to know.
Do you know where your birth
All right.
certificate is? Many people don't.
So
Next
you
for
can go
us.
to your
That exchange tells you a lot about where this midterm fight could be heading. MAGA voters are likely to remain loyal to Trump, but elections aren't decided by the base alone. Independents, moderates, and voters primarily concerned about affordability could become the real problem for Republicans. And that's why Isaiah Martin kept returning to the same point. Look at the issues voters are actually dealing with: prices, tariffs, the economy, foreign policy, and whether they believe Washington is improving their everyday lives. If voters aren't satisfied, Republicans can't simply dismiss every warning sign as another bad poll. Special elections matter too. When Democrats start winning in places where Republicans previously performed well, that deserves attention. It doesn't guarantee what happens in November, but pretending those results mean nothing seems politically risky. Then there's Trump's social media behavior. CNN highlighted the extraordinary number of posts he reportedly published over the weekend, many involving AI-generated content. And this is where the double standard becomes interesting. Imagine if Joe Biden had spent a weekend flooding social media with dozens of posts while dealing with major economic and international challenges. Republicans would have made his behavior the story for weeks. So why shouldn't Trump face similar scrutiny? I'm not going to diagnose somebody's mental condition from social media posts, but voters are absolutely entitled to question whether a president's public behavior reflects the focus, discipline, and judgment they expect from the person holding that office. And ultimately, that's what these midterms will come down to. Republicans can blame Democrats. Democrats can blame Republicans. Both sides can wave around whichever polls favor them. But voters get the final word. Do you think Republicans are underestimating what could happen in the midterms, or is MAGA right to believe Trump's support will hold? Let me know below, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.